Hello, everybody, and welcome to another WSI Digital Marketing webinar. Before we kick off, let's just do a quick sound check, make sure that we're coming through all right. And you can do that just by typing into the question pane. Just let us know that you can see and hear us. Okay, I think we're coming through loud and clear, so that's great. Thank you all for joining us for our latest digital marketing webinar entitled Reviews to Revenue: How to Grow Your Business with Online Reputation Management. My name is Mike Monahan. I'm the VP of Field Operations for WSI here at our corporate head office. And before we dive into our presentation, let's just do a couple of housekeeping items. So first of all, the lines are muted, but we want you to submit your questions. There will be time at the end of the session where we'll be able to get to some Q&A. Also, the webinar is being recorded, so you will get a copy of this recording along with the copy of the slide deck. So you'll have the information there. If at any point you do have any issues with your audio, and sometimes that happens when we have a large audience, just dial in. You can try the phone lines there, or you can log out and log back in. Sometimes that helps as well. Now, before we get to our topic today, just a quick overview about WSI. And WSI has been around for 25 years. We've literally helped over 100,000 clients in the field of digital marketing. And we know that digital marketing, especially today, is very complex. And our goal with these webinars is really to help provide businesses with a little bit of education around the different elements of digital marketing to help bring you up to speed on how you can apply some of these things in your business. Now, as I mentioned today, our focus today is going to be on the topic of online reputation management, and that includes really a couple things. First of all, listening out there online to what people are saying about your brand, but also it's about reviews. And we know that reviews today are really important. I mean, for most of us, before we make purchases, before we go eat somewhere or shop, we're checking out reviews online. And in fact, online reviews have become one of the most trusted sources of information for consumers to learn about new products and services. So this means that managing your online reputation, managing your online reviews is becoming even more important than it ever has before. So I'm very excited to have our special guest joining us. Our presenter on today's topic is Carlos Guzman. He's one of our very own WSI digital marketing consultants. And Carlos has been part of WSI since 2004. But prior to joining WSI, he had positions in CEO positions in technology companies for nearly 20 years. Since becoming a consultant in this industry, he's become an expert on all things digital. He's been on, different television programs, etc., talking about digital marketing. So he really is being recognized as an expert in the industry. Not only is he an avid digital marketer, he's also an author, and he authored one of the chapters in WSI's best-selling book, Digital Minds, where he contributed on the strategy of digital marketing. So without further ado, I'm excited to hand it over to Carlos. Carlos, welcome. Thank you for joining us, and tell us a little bit more about online reputation and reviews.
Thank you, Mike. I'm very happy to be with all our friends today. So we have an interesting agenda today, and we will review the following topic. We will talk about why is online reputation so important. We will review some of the tools that you can use to monitor your reputation, to manage your reputation, and find out what's being said about your brand online. We will also cover how should you respond to negative reviews and positive reviews, and use these to your advantage to strengthen your reputation online. We will also review what tactics can help you to get prepared for negatives, because they eventually will come, and get more positive online reviews and more positive mentions through social media. And then at the end, we will have a Q&A. So if any questions should arise, please feel free to throw it in the chat box. So let's start by asking us, why is reputation online so important? And more than ever, consumers are consulting mentions They are reviewing what's being said about the brands, and they are reviewing the ratings. And before deciding where to eat, shop, visit, or who to make business with, they are really going online and researching the suppliers. And this is true not only for business to consumer, but also for business to business. Online reviews have today become one of the most trusted sources of information for consumers learning about products and services from a supplier. And not only that, 97% of shoppers who read online reviews from other consumers also read the business responses, which means that not only answering or acknowledging the reviews is important. If you don't do it, then it can really badly hurt your reputation. So online review management can be very challenging because it requires time, it requires resources, technology, and budget. And the question is where to start to make the best use of those resources. So what are the best tools to collect data and collect comments and review whatever is being said about the brand? How should you reply to positive and negative? And how do you generate more positive reviews that in the end will help drive more business to your company? Reputation monitoring and reputation management are key to build brand trust and to build brand credibility. And if you do it correctly, it can really directly impact your revenues. Your online reputation can be your biggest asset if you manage it well, and can be your worst liability if you don't really work on it. So it's really a three-step process. First, you set up your monitoring system or your platform. Then you gather data, and then you execute reputation management activities based on that data. When we talk about this topic, we really cover three different aspects of reputation monitoring and reputation management. The first one is open social listening. Open social listening takes place in social networks, in anything that is really open and public, where people can make a comment or make a mention about a product or a brand. The second one is reviews. Many sites on the web today provide the facility, the ability to drop a review. So an angry or a happy customer can really do a review on that site. And the third one is basically Google, because when you Google a brand, then you can see the results of the comments and mentions of that brand. They are directly in the Google search results. So let's first cover social listening as part of your brand monitoring strategy. So brand reputation monitoring can be done through social listening. Social listening is a process through which you track any publicly available mentions about your brand, your service, or your product. In the political sector, you can even track what's being said about a candidate, for example, during election time. The public mentions come from social networks, blogs, microblogging sites, news sites, and forums, everything that's public. But there is really some big challenge here, because the number of channels and the number of internet users is so big that it makes it really hard for you to follow every mention about your brand by hand. It really cannot be done manually. So spotting and analyzing mentions about your brand really requires technology, the use of technology platforms. When we talk about review sites, which is one of the other aspects of brand monitoring, review sites are a little bit easier because you go to a site and you check what's being said about the brand on that site. But there's also a problem. There's a lot of review sites today like Google, Angie's List, Better Business Bureau, Yelp, TripAdvisor. And obviously trying to track a brand in many of these sites, it also requires technology, because doing it by hand, it's complex, it's complicated. So next slide, please. at the very bare minimum, when you are doing this monitoring of your brand, monitoring of your reputation, you need to at least track four important KPIs. First, you have to measure the volume of mentions or the volume of reviews if it's a review site. You should track the sentiment or the score that has been put to your brand in the review site. You should identify the sources, who is really talking about the brand, and you should identify the cloud terms, what is being said with which words, with which terms, and then finally identify the influencers. Those are the four important measurements. So let's review each one. Volume. This metric will tell you how many times a keyword, a phrase, a name, a brand has been mentioned online, or how many reviews it got in a review site. For example, in this example, in this graph, which comes from a social listening exercise, you see that then the volume of mention is being tracked in a timeline. And the interesting thing here is that by using technology, when you see a spike, you can drill down and see why was that spike there, and make the analysis and then find if it's a positive or a negative spike. The next measurement is sentiment. Most platforms will help you track sentiment, or if it's a review site, it will give you the score, how many stars that review got for your brand. So when doing open social listening through all the web, sentiments analysis will tell you if a sentiment is negative, is positive, or if it's neutral. If it's on a review site, you will see the scoring. In this graph, you can see, again, on a timeline in the top part of the graph, you can see a spike. And again, you make a drill down, your technology will allow you to make a drill down and find out why that spike is there. It can be a positive or a negative spike. When you do review sites, when you are tracking review sites, then on the bottom of your screen, you can see how was that score for your brand. And many review sites will even give you categories that the user can make a score in each one of the categories. So basically, sentiment is very important because it will allow you to know what the people is really saying and how they feel around your brand. The next measurement, the parameter is sources and cloud terms. In any monitoring exercise, you need to identify the sources. When you're doing social listening, basically it will tell you from which website that mention is coming. And when you're doing a review in a review site, the mention will appear on that review site. So for example, in this example, on the left part, you can see where is the source of the mention. And on the right part, on the right section of your screen, you can see a cloud term. And that cloud term will tell you what are the concepts, the terms, the phrases that the people is most frequently using regarding a brand. These cloud terms can even be segmented by positive and negatives. So you can find out when people is talking in a negative way about a brand, you can find which terms they are using, or as well when it's positive. And these cloud terms are very interesting because it will give you hints for the keywords and the topics that you might even consider for your social media content management plan for posting comments on social media. Those keywords and terms will also give you ideas for blogging and articles that you can write. So this is the third metric that you should track. And the fourth one, these bare minimum metrics that you should track when doing reputation metrics and reputation monitoring, is in identifying influencers. You need to know who is talking about your brand, either if he's talking or she's talking in a positive, negative, or neutral way. So for example, in this screen that you are looking at, you can see the result of a social listening exercise where you identify the users or the authors that are posting mentions about a company. And if we go to the next slide, please, you can see on, for example, on the right part of your screen, how Yelp will give you exactly the handles, the users that are posting comments regarding a business. And that there you can get the username of the person doing the review. And this is very important because, as you recall at the beginning of the presentation, we say that it is important to respond to comments and to reviews. But first you need to know who you're going to respond to. So in next slide, please. Now, we have talked about social listening, open social listening monitoring. We have talked about review sites. Now let's talk about Google. On our last webinar at WSI, we touched on local search and its importance. And you probably agree how important it is that your business reputation shows in the search engine results. But it should be good, it should be clean, it should be nice. And search engine reputation management in Google, that's the process of controlling what's being showed in the search engine results page in Google about a company. And obviously, if there are a lot of bad comments and Google picks those reviews, then it will show them in the search engine results page. So being clean, having a good comment in Google will help your brand and will improve its name and its credibility. So in Google, reputation in Google, it's shown in the search engine results page, that first page that Google shows after doing a search. And today, Google is very active and getting and gathering data from review sites. So in other words, when in any user platform, and obviously in Google finds a review, then it will possibly display the summary of that review from the online business that he's catching, and it will show it in those results. And that is not good when you have negative reviews. Now, for example, in this screen, you can see a very easy sequence that Google gives, either for you to check the reputation of your business, or either for a consumer that wants to give a review around a business. So first you get the results, then Google leads you to a review section where you can check the reviews, and very easily Google helps the user to provide a review. So any user that's mad, that didn't have a good experience with your business, can go to Google, find the Google business entry and drop a review there. And that review very probably will be shown in the search engine results page of Google. So what is the strategy in Google? Well, the strategy in Google should include as the first step to maintain a good SEO campaign. SEO strategy will help you control and position your business with content that you control on the first positions of Google. And that way you will dominate the search results with good content. Whenever possible, try to dominate several positions of the results page, because that will give you more ammunition to really take care of those comments. If you have a good SEO position, then you have enough content to fight back whenever a negative comes in. If there are negatives because somebody dropped a negative in a review that Google is showing in the results, then the strategy will be to push that review down. You will never, and if you find somebody that promises this, that is not true, it's false, you will never be able to take out that review from Google. What you can do is you can have an SEO campaign that will put new content, positive content on top, and push down the bad reviews until they disappear from the first or second page of Google. So the strategy in Google is first you have to assure that your business has Google My Business entry. If you don't have it, talk to your internet consultant from WSI. He or she can certainly help you have a presence in the Google My Business section of Google. Then get positive reviews. Every time that you have a customer that's happy, ask him to go and drop a review on Google My Business. That will help your business. Obviously, maintain a very good SEO strategy and a good SEO campaign with good content in the most relevant positions of Google, and maintain a good public relations campaign in news sites and blogs. So we have then talked about social listening, review sites, and Google My Business. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of reputation monitoring and reputation management. When you're doing social listening and when the strategy is based in social listening, there are 5 very important concrete benefits. The first one is that if you do it correctly and you find and you learn about your customer and what's being said, then you can boost your sales. You will get to know your audience and your competitors, because through social listening, you can also find out what are the bad comments and bad mentions about your competitors. You can measure the results of any marketing campaign that you launch, and now you want to see what's the people saying about the campaign, the product, or the launch through social networks, and you can size the real impact of any mentions that your brand is getting regarding volume and regarding sentiment. And obviously, bring that customer experience to the next level, because you will be spotting and detecting and reacting to any negative or positive comments very timely. So these are the 5 benefits of social listening. And now, social listening, as I said previously, it can only be done with tools, with technology. Manually monitoring your brand name is extremely time consuming, and there are new channels emerging all the time. So you might very easily miss some crucial mentions that you do not react to them. So a piece of negative content that needs to be taken care, you might slip it and you will not see it. So brand monitoring tools will help you get that data, get a lot of alerts, and really be on the top of your business in terms of reputation, filtering and analyzing with tools anything that's being said about your business. When talking about review monitoring, there are also very concrete benefits. And the first one is also, if you do it correctly, it will boost your sales, because you will show that you care for positive and negative reviews and comments. You will be monitoring as well your competition and benchmarking against your competition in terms of positives and in terms of negatives and in terms of volume. And if you respond promptly and correctly, you will be bringing your customer to a next level of experience. And obviously, every time you get a positive, you should be leveraging those positives. And anything that help you resonate with your audience is a very good benefit of review monitoring. So that's something that should be done. Review sites. In this screen, you can see some of the top review sites in the US. Now, depending on your industry, it makes sense to probably search for your company on those review sites. If you're only interested in tracking 1 or 2 review sites, you can probably do it by hand. But if you want to do it in many review sites, then you also will need technology. It will be very difficult to do it manually, because there's a lot of data there. Now, on reviewing the benefits of search reputation in Google, well, we all know that Google is the first place where people go when trying to find a supplier. So being positively mentioned in Google, it's a top, and it will also help boost at least your traffic, if not your sales. A good comment or a good review in Google side by side to your product, it will be really a multiplier. It will help position your brand in front of that people doing search. And obviously, you can also leverage those positives if you detect them and find them in Google. And as we said, good SEO can help. So if your business can be one of those businesses that might receive negative reviews, because sometimes that happens, then talk to your consultant, because SEO should be a very good ammunition for you to do this. And obviously, content really makes the difference. If you have a good SEO campaign and you have content that is being positioned on the top pages of Google, then that will help you importantly when trying to reflect your reputation through Google. Now, when doing reputation management, keep in mind that your job is to find all the comments, all the mentions, all the reviews of regarding your product, your brand, and react properly and react promptly. Obviously, by doing this, you will be able to spot some crises before they really escalate, and you could be protecting your brand before something really becomes a crisis. And by reacting fast and promptly to negative and positive posts, you will be showing that you care about your customers and that you care about anybody that's really doing business with your brand. So you're probably asking, well, how do I do this? What technology can I use for social listening and social monitoring? And there is many platforms. There's a lot of technology that you can use to conduct some of these monitoring and some of these brand reputation and monitor your reputation. So some of the tools that you can see are on the next screen, please. So I have divided the tools in three groups. The first one on your left are social listening tools. These will usually be the most elaborate, the most sophisticated, and the more expensive tools. But then in the middle, you have some other tools that help you monitor reviews and monitor your brand. And some of them might even be free. Google Alerts, although it's not really a monitoring tool in terms of sentiment or in terms of volume, it is a monitoring tool that will alert you when something is being said about your brand. And then on the right part, you have review monitoring and management, which it's another group of tools. Some of these tools might even be very low cost or might even have a trial for you to test them. Tools like Promo Republic, like SEMrush, like Customer Lobby or Bird Eye might even be part of the toolbox that your internet consultant already has. So when you ask for help from a consultant, he might bring those tools into the game, and you can get the benefits of those tools by working with a WSI internet consultant. So once we have seen the tools, let's ask ourselves, why respond to reviews? So I think there's important data that you can find on the web regarding why we should respond, but keep in mind, 94% of consumers say that a bad review has convinced them to avoid a business. So if you have a bad review that you did not take care, that you did not answer, that might be damaging your brand because even if you do not know it. 40% of consumers expect brands to respond in very short time of response. Actually, 60% of them expect responses to arrive in less than 24 hours. 44% of consumers say they are more likely to visit a business that respond to negative reviews. And in the restaurant business, when responding to a 1 or 2 star review, which is usually very low, there is a 33% higher probability that the review will be upgraded and will be improved by the customer. So these are important reasons on why you should respond. On this next slide, this is an interesting chart. It shows social responses by sector or by segment, and it's very recent. So you can look for your industry. You can look for the percentage of the response rate of your industry, and you can then aim to respond better than your industry. So for example, if you are in the real estate industry and you know that most of the market only responds to 29% of reviews, then you should aim to respond to 66%, which will be double than the market, and you will be showing the market that you care more than any other competitors about your brand. Now, this is regarding to social responses, but this information can also be considered for reviews. So at the end, if you have your business being reviewed in a site, very probably other competitors of your business are not responding promptly and are not responding to all the reviews. So if you do that, you will certainly be able to be positioned in a better spot than your competition. So how should you respond to reviews? First, let's look at how to respond to negatives, which are the ones that more frighten us. So I think that there are some important recommendations that I can share with you. First of all, don't take it personally. Angry customers were always going to be there. They are not angry at you. They are angry at the service and at the brand. So don't take it personally. Be really calm when answering a negative to this type of customers. Do not argue. Empathize. Address the reviewer. Your customers want to be heard. They do not want to argue. They want to know that you heard them and that you are really going to do something about it. And obviously say thank you, because you have to show these customers that you appreciate and value this unsolicited feedback that they are providing to you. Apologize, sympathize, and take responsibility for the issue. Saying sorry, it's a very good idea, even if it's not your fault. So say sorry anyway, and the customer will really appreciate that. Make things right, resolve and address the issue. Saying sorry without addressing the issue or without providing a solution might not be of any use. If you can, take the issue offline. If you can, move that customer to a chat offline, or move it to an email, or probably to a phone call, and go the extra mile. Ask for a second chance and empower your people to really be able to do that, to take that extra mile. Here's an interesting example. It's an example of a negative, and I am going to point to you on this next slide, please. Some of the key issues that that the people responding really took care about. So these issues, as you can say, it's saying I am sorry for your experience, and I know it could be better. The customer was complaining about dining in a place that was too noisy. So the person responding said, we do have an upstairs available for dining, but probably we didn't know you wanted to dine. And then she is asking for another chance. So probably upstairs is better for the ear. I know that you like the ice cream and the flatbread pesto, so give us another chance. Let's try to serve you better next time. So that's a good example. Now, a negative, and keep in mind this is important, a negative is not that bad. Negative reviews actually increase your credibility. On the next slide, please. So when consumers see nothing but positive, and some businesses try to fake reviews by only putting positives there, the customer will become suspicious. So the research, and there's a good Harvard Business Review paper there that suggests that consumers like to see a mix of good, moderate, and bad reviews when trying to determine how trustworthy is a business. And so keep it balanced. Try to not run and try to hide the bad ones. Answer them, approach them, and obviously we hope you're getting a little bit more positives than negatives. Okay, so on the next slide, there's something interesting to keep in mind. Negative reviews will happen, so you eventually have to prepare for them. So how can you prepare for negatives? Well, respond in a timely manner. Assign the ownership to somebody. Somebody has to take care of that customer, and somebody has to solve the issue. Publish internally a response policy that anybody taking care of negatives knows how to follow. As I said, empower the people responding so they can really make a decision. and have a tracking system that assures that all negatives are addressed. So that's some issues that you should take into consideration to prepare to negatives. Now, let's review how to respond to positives, which hopefully will be a lot of positives in your business. So 7 ideas on how to respond. Well, responding to a positive review opens a lot of new opportunities. Again, as in the other case, say thank you because they are providing unsolicited feedback. Reinforce the positive, pass along the compliment and share it with your staff and your team because they want to know that there are also customers that are happy. Tell the customers that you would love to see them and to serve them again because you know they are happy. Mention any other products, take the advantage of upselling because they are happy with your products or services, and share that review with the world because at the end, you want the rest of the customers to find out about it. So here's an example of a positive. And in this example, where the customer is really doing a very positive review to the business is basically saying that they are good because their customers are good. So they are giving back the gratification to the customer, and they say we can be good because our customers are good. So that's a very creative way of responding a positive, and I think that's a good example. So how should you build your strategy for positives? Well, building a positive is really key. So some of the ideas to build for positive reviews are, well, again, monitor your brand because you need to know, on the next slide, thank you, you need to know that positives are there. Have a friendly website. If it's a positive and you have the opportunity to upsell, probably the customer will go to your website, and you need to have clear information there. You need to have all your services, all your products, so they find anything else that you do, and probably that opens good opportunity for business. Show your expertise through a blog. Blogging and posting articles that position you as an authority is a very good idea for building on positives. Reply to every request or opinion you get, even if it's not negative. Also do it, but on positives, extend yourself, give more information. Anytime that you get an achievement, an award, also publish it and have the world know about it. And keep your content simple. At the end, the people that's looking for your business that might really give you a positive review, they would like to know in simple terms what your business doing and how is your business serving the customers. So in closing, if you provide a good service or a good product, don't be afraid of participating in social listening and participating in review sites. Actually, you might even be losing the opportunity of not catching up those positives and showing them to the world. So you really shouldn't be afraid if you are providing a good service and a good product. But if you are not monitoring or managing your online reputation, then you should be afraid because you will not know about positives, you will not know about negatives, you will not find out any comments or mentions that a customer might be doing about your product or service. So keep in mind that all those reviews, all those comments might appear in social, in review sites, and in Google, and it will be very bad strategy for you not to find out that they are there. So keep in mind that monitoring, managing, and reacting to those positive and negative mentions and comments are key to your digital strategy. So in summary, some of the takeaways that we can summarize for you is start by monitoring your reputation. You can do it by social listening, you can do it in review tracking sites, and you can do it in Google. Now, you need to keep some measurements, so track your volume, track your sentiment, the score, the sources, and the cloud terms and influencers that are talking about your brand. Do not forget that reputation management will help you boost your sales And I think that everybody on this webinar would like to be selling more. Leverage the power of technology. If you try to do it manually, probably it will not be a good idea. So we also already provided a very good list of tools. Remember to manage your reputation in Google. Sometimes we forget that. And for doing this, keep in mind that a good search engine optimization, a good SEO strategy is key. And obviously, follow those tips on responding to positive to negative reviews and keep a good communication dialogue with your audience. So I hope this was helpful for you. I think I'm going back to you, Mike, and we can probably answer some questions to our friends. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect, Carlos. Thank you very much. Some amazing tips there in terms of managing your online reputation and social listening. We do have some questions. We've got some great comments coming through the chat. Just before we get there, just to mention, we know that kind of this process of managing a reputation online, maybe you don't have the internal resources. We know it's complex. And so if you need any help with any of that, just reach out to your local consultant that referred you to our webinar today. Certainly they can walk you through some different strategies and so forth. And if you don't have a consultant, then just reach out to us at contact@wsiworld.com, and we'll definitely make sure we put you in touch with somebody that can walk you through this in a little bit more detail. So let's get to some of the questions. So one of the questions we had, a couple of them that came in, were just around the concept of being a smaller company, right? We talked about sort of, and the question really is, if I'm a smaller company, how important is this for me to be, social listening to manage some of my online reputation?
Well, if you're a small company, first, you might get few mentions or few reviews, but if you don't track them and you get 3 and 2 of them are negative just for the sake of luck, then it will not be a good idea that those appear without you knowing about them. And the second part is that you can find and learn a lot about your competition and about the big companies in your sector, in your segment, by doing review monitoring, by doing social listening. And you can find out what's the people saying about those big companies, so those medium companies and the products and services. So even you might not have a good big volume of mentions, you can learn a lot about what the people is being mentioning about big brands, and then extract learning from there that can drive your content strategy, your product strategy, your service strategy. So I would say that obviously you might not be able to pay for a very expensive tool, but there are tools on the market that will offer you a trial or a very low cost solution or membership that can help you find about the market.
So in some respects, a little bit almost like a part of research in some respects. It can definitely help guide some of your strategy even.
Basically, all these things are it's free marketing research for your brand, because the people is talking about the products and services out on the market. And if you gather enough information, you're getting marketing research without really hiring a marketing research company. So yes.
Okay, great. And so I know you talked about that process for handling reviews. And a lot of times I know some of the tools, you can have more than one person that gets copies of that and so forth. What's your recommendation as it relates to ownership? Is it best to have just one person owning that process of responding to reviews? How would you recommend businesses approach that?
Yeah, I think the best protocol is to have an escalation protocol. So you assign one person that is really on top of those reviews. He or she has a protocol to answer, but if that protocol is not really adequate for the type of review or the type of comment he is detecting, then there is an escalation. So that comment could be escalated to another level of the company, or to the owner, or to the marketing director. And if that first line of contact was not able to answer, we make sure that there is an escalation to another person that will be able to answer. So no comment, no bad review gets unanswered if you have a protocol. If it's 3 people on the business, then you can make a protocol of 3 levels of escalation, and everything will be responded and taken care of.
Okay, great. And you know, it's to your point, it's important to have a protocol, to have a process. And I know when we work with a lot of our clients in this process, it's really, there's a bit of training that goes into a proper protocol in terms of how to respond to the reviews and how that process should go. So some of the key metrics that you'd mentioned in terms of tracking, you know, what are some of the trends that, you know, people should be watching for when things, you know, work well, or when things need to be improved?
Well, I think that the trend should be, if you have a big percentage of negatives, you should be watching negatives going down as a percentage of the complete number or the whole number of mentions that you get, or the reviews. So at the end, now we know that people will comment more in a negative way than in a positive way. And sometimes it's hard to have more negatives as a percentage to see, and sometimes you can see that they are increasing. But that is also a result of not inviting happy customers to drop a review. So when you invite happy customers to drop a review, you will see that negatives will go down as a percentage of the total number of reviews. And that for me is the most important trend. Now, if you have some type of system, the other one will be, how fast do we answer? We saw a statistic that said that most people expect an answer from a review in less than 24 hours. And that is something that you should track. Anything that comes to our door should be answered in less than 24 hours. And you should observe that trend until you are really very active and very agile to respond fast. So speed on responding, and negatives or positives as a percentage of the total number of reviews, mentions, or comments.
For sure. And it's okay to get negative reviews. I mean, I think that was a great, you know, some of the stats that you shared and so forth, as it related to sometimes those negative reviews can actually work in your favor. Certainly, when consumers see overly positive reviews, it's not even, you know, as impactful as moderately positive reviews. So obviously, as a business, you're not going to make somebody, you know, 100% happy 100% of the time. And so it's important, as you mentioned, to be able to respond to those. So for somebody that's doing this themselves, let's say, at what point would you say, hey, you know, maybe this is, it's important to reach out to an agency or reach out to somebody to help you with this?
Well, if you use a little bit of technology, most of these tools, the simple ones or the other ones, will have a functionality of alerts. So you don't have to be on top of the tool all the time. When the tool detects something, it will alert you to your inbox, the inbox of your email. So you can be taking care of your own business, and when you receive an alert, then you can dedicate a little bit of time to respond that mention. First read about it and then respond. Now, if you're getting a lot of alerts, if you're getting a lot of mentions, then there's no doubt that you need external help, because then you will be spending a lot of time, valuable time of your business, responding to these mentions, to these reviews, and you're probably stealing a strategic time of your business. So I think that building alerts and then keeping track of how many they are arriving, if you can handle them by hand, then it's okay, even if you're a small business. But if not, then you can probably seek for some help through a consultant or an agency.
For sure, for sure. And I know a lot of businesses, they wear many hats. You know, they might be out in the field, they might have certain times that are really busy for them. And obviously, you know, having somebody that can work on this sort of thing for you can be really advantageous.
And
so
you can have an intern because it's not that easy.
Right.
If you define your protocol, you have some canned responses, then you can hire an intern that just is keeping track of that, and he will drop the answer that you already prepared for him. So having somebody that can help you in a medium or low volume is not that expensive.
Perfect. Great. So, and you gave some great ideas of some different tools that people can be looking for and so forth. So I know we went a little over our kind of recommended time and so forth, and thank you everybody for attending and for the questions that you have. We'll just wrap up here. Once again, just a reminder about WSI. If you want to learn a little bit more, we've got our Digital Minds book where we talk about different elements of digital marketing, and each chapter is written by a digital consultant. So you can find that on Amazon by searching WSI Digital Minds. Big thanks to you, Carlos. Also, when you leave the session, you're going to see a quick review. So just let us know how you thought the session went today. Give us some thoughts in terms of what you'd like to maybe what we'd like to cover in future webinars. And then we just a reminder, you can please join us in our next webinar, which is on June the 30th. And that session is going to be on a very important topic, which is on website accessibility. We know how important this is becoming. It's a huge audience out there for businesses to make sure that they're actually making their websites accessible. There's a lot of different legislation out there for businesses. So very important to be something to keep in mind. And we're going to cover that. We're going to dive into that on June the 30th for our next webinar in our digital marketing series here. So Carlos, once again, thank you very much. Thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one on June the 30th. Bye for now.
Thank you very much. Bye.